بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Dr. Ziad, for the introduction. My topic is about poliomyelitis. Actually, polio is known since long time, as we see in this picture, since the time of the old Egyptian or 1400 years before Christ. Poliomyelitis as a disease or entity was first described by Michael Underwood in 1789. First outbreak described was in United States in 1834. 21,000 paralytic cases in United States in 1952, and in 1954 it was the development of Salk vaccine, and in 1960 it was the date for Sabin vaccine. What is poliomyelitis? Polio means gray matter. Myelitis means the inflammation of the spinal cord. Actually, the inflammation here affects mainly the anterior horn. In the anterior horn, there is the alpha motor cells or the lower motor. So the destruction of this neuron can lead to what we call lower motor neuron injury, and this lead to the flaccid paralysis. Poliovirus, it is non-enveloped RNA. It is from enterovirus. The family is picornavirus, which means picorna, that it is small, and spread from gastrointestinal tract to the CNS. Can survive at room temperature for a few days, but can survive frozen at minus 20 indefinitely. And this is very important for the oral vaccine. We can keep it in under minus 20 degrees for a long time. Can be inactivated by heat, 56 degrees, formaldehyde, chlorination, and ultraviolet light. Actually, about the epidemiology of polio, it is highly contagious, usually infect 100% of all susceptible, fecal-oral route transmission and rapid spread, and occur worldwide, seasonal, hot, humid months mainly. There are three serotypes, type 1, type 2, and type 3. Actually, there is no cross-immunity, and that's why it required trivalent polio vaccine, and it was for a long time trivalent, but we will see later on that it became bivalent. Type 1 is the commonest one, 90%, type 2, 9%, and type 3, 1%. Salk vaccine, it was developed in March 1953. American medical researcher called Jonas Salk announced on a national radio show that he has successfully tested a vaccine against poliomyelitis, this virus which destructs the spine and leads to paralysis. Salk conducted the first human trials on former polio patients and on himself and his family. By 1953, was ready to announce his finding. This occurred in CBS National Radio Network on the evening of March 25, and 2 days later in an article published in Journal of American Medical Association. A clinical trial using Salk vaccine and placebo began in nearly 2 million of American school children. In April 1955, it was announced that the vaccine was effective and safe, and a nationwide inoculation campaign began. New polio cases dropped to under 6,000 in 1957. Actually, there were maybe more than 21,000 of cases before this year. The first year after the vaccine was widely available, so that there were a clear reduction in the number of paralytic cases shortly after the introduction of the vaccine, and mainly after the first year. Here we can see the vaccine developed by Salk, and how it was its shape, the older vaccine, and we can see him here in his lab, and here it is the vaccine itself and the way how it was given. Here we can see that there are thousands of children who received the free vaccine in the weeks following the announcement. There are large queues of school children. They are waiting their turn to get the vaccine. The other vaccine for polio, it was Sabin. This one, he was living between 1906 to 1993, American immunologist. He began in 1930. He began his research project, and it took for him about 25 years to develop a vaccine for the prevention of polio. In 1956, actually, the development of Salk and Sabin vaccine, it was in approximately in short time between both vaccine, and he released his vaccine to other researchers who they helped him in the development of the vaccine. And a year later, the WHO began using the Sabin vaccine in a worldwide basis. It has several advantages over the Salk vaccine. It was cheaply produced, provide lifelong, both provide actually lifelong, but it is cheaper and can be given orally. These are the main advantages. Here, if we compare between Sabin and Salk vaccine, we can find that Sabin vaccine is live, but actually live attenuated strain. Both contain the 3 serotypes. Salk vaccine, it contains killed serotype, killed with formalized formaldehyde. The administration for Sabin, it is oral, which is the preferred for mass campaign, and Salk, it is injectable, and there is the advantage that it can be given with the other vaccine in one injection. Factors affecting the efficacy: Sabin can be affected by diarrhea. Sometimes it is mentioned that maybe it is affected by breastfeeding, but maybe not. But Salk, it is not affected by these factors as diarrhea or breastfeeding. Both are safe, but actually a vaccine associated polio paralysis is associated to the Sabin or to the oral vaccine, and it is not associated to the Salk or activated. We can see here that how is the decline in poliomyelitis after the introduction of both vaccines. From many thousands of paralytic cases, it decreased, and nowadays it is only not 100, less than 100 cases of paralytic worldwide of poliomyelitis. There is ongoing strengthening of routine immunization service, and this was guided by the WHO, and it was followed by 3 steps. The first step, it is the introduction, which means that each country must at least introduce 1 dose of IPV into its routine immunization national program. This was done before the year 2015. And in 2016, it was done the switch from the trivalent oral polio vaccine to bivalent oral polio vaccine. This switch was done in 21 of April 2016, and it was expected after May 15 of 2016 to discard all ampoules or all containers of trivalent oral polio. This is the second step. They are waiting for the third step, in which by 2019 to 2020 to withdraw and to remove from all immunization programs the oral polio vaccine and to shift completely to the inactivated polio vaccine. Here we can see that the trivalent oral polio, it contains the three serotypes, 1, 2, and 3. These serotypes actually are having numbers, not letters. And it shifted to the bivalent oral polio containing the number 1 and the number 3, which means that it was discarded or removed the serotype number 2. Right. What is the reason, what is the rationale for switching from the trivalent to the bivalent, and why they are removing serotype number 2? Actually, they are thinking that the risk associated with type 2 or with serotype number 2 is the risk is more than the benefit. Because since 1999, naturally occurring type 2 wild poliovirus has not been detected. So for a long time, it is not producing any more illness. Also, type 2 component of the trivalent oral polio vaccine cause more than 90% of vaccine-derived poliovirus, which is now constituting a new problem for the healthcare. And also type 2 cause up to approximately 30% of vaccine-associated paralytic polio, which means that maybe it is the main factor in producing the paralytic polio associated to the vaccine, other than type 1 or serotype 1 and serotype 2. And also type 2 interfere with the immune response to poliovirus type 1 and 3 in the trivalent OBV. Now, what is vaccine-derived poliovirus? Actually, these are rare strains of poliovirus that are genetically mutated from the strain contained in the vaccine through the intestine of these children. So this virus not become the same, but become modified, and it is genetically altered during its replication in the intestine, and it forms almost a new virus. It is called vaccine-derived poliovirus. This vaccine-derived poliovirus can survive for a short time because the shedding of the virus from the intestine, usually either wild or new, it is between 6 to 8 weeks. But if the many shedding occur and if the community is not full immunized, this virus can circulate in the community between 12 to 18 months. If it circulates, it can have neurovirulence and it be able to produce the paralysis. So if the community is well immunized and if the number of children affected or shedding this virus is a little, maybe become asymptomatic and not produce any complication. But now it is producing a problem in some countries in which the immunization it is not too high and the community is not well protected, and it is so far more than 20 outbreaks of circulating vaccine-derived poliovirus occurred, resulting in about 580 polio cases. This is how the virus is mutated in the intestine and it becomes transmissible. Actually, the transmission here for the new modified virus, it is not as good as the wild virus, but it is less transmissible, this virus. And the outbreak of this new virus, it is self-limited and rapidly stopped by the high-quality supplementary immunization. So in response to this new cases of this new virus, the management and the response is the same as any outbreak with wild virus, which is immunization for all the children less than 5 years in that community. Now, how can we manage definitely the vaccine-derived or poliovirus? It is by the removal of the oral polio vaccine completely, because the oral polio vaccine is the only source for this modified virus. So after 2020, when this oral polio vaccine it is removed and substituted by the inactivated polio vaccine, so we can get from this risk of this virus. In last years, actually, the cases of polio produced by this virus are more than the number of cases produced by the wild virus. So we're using these two vaccines, we can look for one day for the humanity to become free of this crippling illness. Thank you.